Morning and welcome to HRD Live. I'm joined here by David Green, Executive Director at Insight 222. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Lovely to have you here. How did your session go yesterday?
I think it went well. There was lots of people taking notes and lots of nodding, which is always a good sign. So yeah, that was good.
Oh, great. Well, it's lovely to have you here. So we're going to talk people analytics. How do you use people analytics to improve business performance?
Well, I think the first thing to do is you really need to start with a defined business problem. A mistake I see a lot of organisations make is they start with the data. And you give data to a statistician or a data scientist, they'll find something in it, but it might not be they might not find something particularly important to the organisation. So yeah, if you start with a defined business problem, then you can mobilise people within the company, outside HR as well. Because if you're going to solve a business problem, you need more than HR data. So one of the examples I gave yesterday was around how Virgin Media had a hypothesis around their candidate experience. They actually went to the consumer analytics team to find out, was a bad candidate experience leading to them losing customers? And by combining those data sets, they got some insights that were able to then put HR programs in place to resolve that problem.
Yeah, of course. And how do you think people analytics is vital when building a personal employee experience?
Well, we live in a digital world, and if we think about ourselves as consumers now, when we're working with Netflix or Amazon, everything gets personalised for us, and it's personalised based on data that we have shared with those companies in the past. And actually, they're quite helpful. I don't know what you think when you're using Netflix, but I think, how do they know?
Yeah.
Obviously, they know because they look at your past behaviours, and I think we need to do that within the workplace as well. And actually, in exchange for employees providing data around career aspirations, skills. Where they want to take their career within the organisation, we can use the technology available now to actually personalise things like learning recommendations, support them with onboarding by giving them information at the right time, and actually support them with internal mobility options as well, so they can develop their careers within the organisation. And you can't do any of that without analytics and data as a foundation.
So how can we better inform HR about the analytics they should be using?
Yeah, it's been. I've seen progress improving. The pace of adoption is increasing now. Corporate Research Forum brought out a study just over a year ago, actually, and they said that they found that 69% now of large organisations, those with 10,000 employees or more, now have a people analytics team. I think some of those teams have just been rebranded from HR reporting and aren't really doing analytics, but it shows that the ambition is there. I think in terms of HR, this isn't just about creating a people analytics team. This is about change management within most organisations' HR functions. So we need to excite, enable and equip HR business partners and HR generalists with the information that they need so they can be asking the right questions. So again, moving back to what I said about solving business problems, but also make them comfortable talking about data with the business. They don't need to become statisticians or data scientists, not at all. But they do need, generally speaking, from my experience of working with HR business partners, do need to probably improve their business acumen and understanding of the business, their comfort and literacy with data, and also the storytelling part as well. But it's also incumbent on the people analytics teams themselves to actually understand more about the life of an HR business partner and the challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis. So it's a team effort. It's not an us and them. I think that the companies that I see doing this successfully, the teams that partner to actually solve this and create that data-driven culture within HR.
And can you cite a specific example of this working successfully?
Well, the good news about the progress in people analytics is there are more and more examples becoming available. So I walked through 3 yesterday, so I'll talk about one of those.
Yeah, please do.
So it was Nielsen, so obviously a data company headquartered in the US. This is about 3 years ago, so their new head of people analytics, Piyush Madha, came across from India where he'd actually been running the business for Nielsen. So he was a business person coming into HR. He came into HR because he was passionate about people analytics. He knew that he wanted to have an impact with his first project. So he interviewed some of the senior leaders within Nielsen's business, including a lady who ran one of their consumer business units in the US. She said to him, look, Piyush, I think I've got a problem with attrition, and I think it's having an impact on the business. So Piyush said, okay, well, these are questions that we can answer for you. We're using analytics. what makes associates more or less likely to leave, what can we do about it, what's the financial impact on the organisation. The first thing he did by pulling all the data sets together is he understood what the financial impact, and the financial impact was that for every 1% of attrition in this particular business, it costs $5 million. So suddenly, this business leader was very interested in finding out what was happening and what they could do about it. The great thing about analytics is you can test hypotheses. Sometimes they're true, sometimes they're not. So the two main hypotheses that came up for this particular problem from surveys that Piyush and his team did with the business was, one, that women and diverse employees were more likely to leave than men, which they found actually there was no correlation. Two was that people that work remotely on either at home or on client sites were more likely to leave than those that worked on Nielsen sites. And they found that there was a correlation there. But they also found something they didn't expect, and that's another great thing about analytics. And that was that actually, if you'd been in role for 3 years or more, you had a 46% more chance likelihood of leaving than those that had been in role for less than 3 years. So they actually, even though they had internal mobility programs in place, they were very underused and under-publicised. So they thought, okay, so if we can drive this with internal mobility and make people aware that there are opportunities that they can move on to when they're ready for a move with Nielsen. Communicated from senior management, right from the top, very clearly, multimedia way of doing it as well, and actually allowing employees or associates, as they called them, to actually opt in when they were ready for a move within Nielsen. They ran this project for the first 6 months. They reduced attrition significantly and saved the company $15 million. And what it did, because it's such a high-profile project and something that actually benefited employees as well in terms of giving them more opportunities, they were able to use this to basically grow the function within Nielsen. They rolled this out to other business units in other countries, and it created the momentum for Nielsen's people analytics team to move forward from there.
So in terms of what you would like to see in the future, the examples like that are brilliant. What would you like to see change or develop?
I think we're moving to a world, what I've seen in the last 5 years being in this space is people analytics has moved from kind of the periphery of HR, a bunch of cool kids in a basement doing some really cool research projects, moving towards the centre of HR. We live in a very disruptive world at the moment. We talked about the consumerisation and the employee expectations around that, but also businesses are almost in a perpetual state of transformation at the moment. They're having to almost reinvent themselves on a regular basis, develop new products and services, not just to cope with current competitors, but new entrants into their market as well, who are really disrupting their markets. And that the importance of understanding the skills that you've got and the skills for the future is absolutely critical. So you need to have really good workforce planning in place, and the people analytics is a core component of that. So what I'd like to see, as I'm seeing in many large organisations, is head of people analytics reporting directly to the CHRO. The CHRO really setting the template for the HR function. This is something that is really important, and it's something that's here to stay. And I'd like to see organisations like the CIPD and SHRM and other actually putting analytics training within their certification courses.
Surely that's bound to happen.
Starting to happen.
Way, yeah.
And I know Peter Cheese wants to do that at the CIPD. It makes sense. I think there is a demand out there. One of the businesses that I'm working in at the moment provides online training, and the demand for training in people analytics, strategic workforce planning, stakeholder management, consulting skills for HR professionals is high. So I think that the CIPD and SHRM and the likes of them will catch up. They're beginning to catch up, and I think the HR professional of the future will be analytically minded and data driven, and I think that will really help HR have a bigger impact in the business moving forward.
Absolutely. So jumping back to yesterday, at your talk, can you tell me some takeaways you'd like the delegates to maybe integrate within their working lives?
I think the first thing is people analytics isn't as hard as many people think. If we all work in an organisation, I think it's incumbent on us all to understand what the big business challenges are that our organisation faces.
Yeah.
I think that this isn't something that you should just try and create in a dark room in HR alone. As I said, you've got to create a culture in HR.
Yeah.
But you also, in the examples I gave yesterday, you leverage data and skills from outside HR when you're building this capability. So again, if you're working on a business problem that is recognised by the business, you're more likely to be able to get data science, as example, from the consumer analytics team. You get the support of finance to work with you on a project if it's a big business problem. So I think there's that. And I think the other thing is, I know CHRO is definitely a seen this. This needs to come from the top. You know, the CHRO doesn't need to sponsor this initiative. They need to be involved in it as well and really help the people analytics function grow within HR and also get access to the right stakeholders in the business. And the other key takeaway is that, you know, don't wait until you've got perfect data. You know, there are a lot of maturity curves out there. I'm not a big fan of maturity curves because they imply that you need to start at the bottom before you can do the analytic stuff. I've seen organisations that are doing that in parallel, and I think that's the best way to do it. Have an impact, pick a project that's going to have an impact within your organisation. It might be a small project to start off with, it might be restricted to a certain country or business unit or critical talent, but you can be improving your reporting. You're always going to have to be improving your reporting and dashboards, but you can be doing projects at the same time, as long as you've got the skills.
Yeah, of course. And are you looking forward to your collab session?
I am looking forward to the collab. So Jonathan Farrar and I will be running a collab around our 9 dimensions for excellence in people analytics model, which is something that we created from studying all the organisations that we've worked with over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And we've seen that there are common characteristics of organisations that are doing analytics well. So we look at foundational things such as governance, we look at resources such as data, technology and skills, and then we look at the value parts of business outcomes, workforce experiences and creating that culture that I talked about as well.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, good luck with it. Hope to see it if I can get in. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.